So you just sit here quietly and wait until it tells you you're live. Because I was watching a live show that somebody else did the other day, and it came in halfway through a sentence. And I thought, what is this? In a few minutes? Hey, everybody. How's it going? Let's see who's here. Hey, Charles is here. Cool. David's here. Donna, Frank, Webb, Bill, Matthew. Who else we got? Brian. I don't see John. I don't see a roll call because I don't see John. Looks like Roger is here. Hank is here. Did I say that already? Eugene. Ken. Somebody says that Ken is here, so that's good. I guess we can go ahead and start then because, we usually wait for Ken to show up before. Yeah. I hope you had a good New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and New Year's weekend. And we'll talk about the no John, no Chuck. Charles says there's no John and there's no Chuck. I hope they're okay. Does somebody want to send somebody to look for them? We'll check in with them later, hopefully. Right, let's do a thing. Here we go. A rough start to a good year. It is Monday, the 4th of January, 2021, and this is macOS Ken Live. You know what stinks about 2021? It just doesn't sound that futuristic, right? 2020 sounds really futuristic, and 2000 sounded incredibly futuristic, and 2021 just sounds like, it's a Happy New Year. Hi, everybody. Ken Ray here. Thank you very much for joining us for this live thing that we do. I guess we're back to doing it every Monday through Friday now. It is macOS Ken Live, an offshoot of the daily Apple news and news-related show that I do called macOS Ken. We'll talk a little bit more about all of that later, or maybe we won't. Second half of the show, we will talk about some good stuff that may be on the way for Apple, revisiting some thoughts of a couple of recurring characters for macOS Ken. And I'm, of course, talking about Gene Munster. You can call him Uncle Gene. And Ming-Chi Kuo, you can call him Young MC. I know I do. They have cool stuff that they see coming for Apple. So we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. First half of the show, though, yikes on Wall Street, except leave off the exclamation point. Let's just say yikes. Add whatever emphasis you want. There was a piece from Bloomberg earlier today saying, the headline was, Apple leads big tech slump with worst drop since October. And you think, my goodness, what happened to Apple? And the answer is probably nothing. This is from Fortune's, Philip Elmer DeWitt, who used to be with Fortune. He now has his own thing, Apple 3.0. He ran a little bit of this Bloomberg piece that started off, Apple led shares of the largest technology companies lower in the first trading day of the year, suffering its worst decline in more than 2 months amid a broad market sell-off. See, there's your lead. There was a broad market sell-off. Apple is big, and Apple is the biggest part of all the big things. And so when Apple falls, it looks really big. But it's possible that, we'll get to that. Shares of the iPhone maker fell as much as 4.5% on Monday, on track for its biggest drop since October 31st. Here's what's weird. That was written in the middle of the day. Yes, at that point, it was on track for its biggest drop in the past couple of months, except rather than ending the day down 4.5% or more, it actually ended down 2.47%, which is still down, yes, but not as bad as it might have been. Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet, you can call it Google, and Facebook all fell at least 2.6% compared to a 2.5% decline in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 only ended up being down 1.5%. Amazon was down 2.6%. Alphabet down 1.35%, and Microsoft down 2.13%. So there's the what's the word I'm looking for? Tragedy of reading the news as it happens. Somebody asked after the show last week why I pay as much attention as I do to what happens with the financial analysts. And the thing is, it's because it doesn't all happen in a vacuum, right? So reading it in the middle of the day, you would think, well, the sky is falling. the earth is being torn asunder and Apple stinks. And in fact, none of that ends up being true. In fact, there was an interesting thing that happened. Philip Elmer DeWitt, a lot of times when he runs one of these things, where he'll run part of somebody's note, he'll then just toss in his 2 cents at the very end. So his take for this one, a friend of his, Robert Paul Liotto, and if I got that name wrong, I apologize. But a friend of his likes to say that investors often use Apple as an ATM for the market, withdrawing gains in Apple to fund other investments. Apple gained 81% in calendar year 2020. He also noted a big trade for Apple at 2:10 Eastern this afternoon, or 9:10 if you're on the West Coast. It's possible that the reason Apple went down, and I don't know. I think I said in the description for this show, it's just sort of a layman's look at things. Everything was down today. Probably not every single share, but everything was down today. So Apple, it stands to reason, would be down. It's possible that Apple was down more than you would expect because people looked at how cheap everything else was and decided, right, I'm going to take some out of my Apple holdings and put it into these other things that are cheaper. That's possible. We don't know. Nothing happens in a vacuum. Everything sort of either props up or knocks over other stuff, it seems. There was a bigger piece from CNBC that was, I don't want to say it was more honest because there was nothing dishonest about the Bloomberg thing. It might have been misleading if you only read that and didn't look at anything else. CNBC said stocks dropped on Monday, the first trading day of 2021, amid concerns about global coronavirus cases and the Georgia runoff elections. They didn't mention this, but also you got to figure that call had some effect on some stuff. Did you hear the call? Did you hear the call? I got into it with a young person over the weekend. Somebody who told me that Wonder Woman 1984 was a bad movie, and I know that this person hadn't seen the movie. And I was like, "What are you basing that on?" They said, "Well, everybody says it's bad." And I started to say what I thought of the movie, and he interrupted me to tell me everybody says it's bad. And so I interrupted him to say, "Well, I actually saw the movie." He didn't really care because everybody says it's bad. All of which is to say, everybody said the call was crazy, but I didn't feel like I could say whether the call was crazy unless I actually listened to the call. I didn't want to listen to 30 seconds of the call or 5 minutes of the call. Truth is, I didn't want to listen to any of it, but if I was going to have an opinion on it, I felt like an hour was not too long. Yeah, sure, I wish I had that hour back, but did you hear it? That call was crazy. Wall Street does not like uncertainty, and that's what we're getting plates and plates of right now for who knows how much longer. Who can say? Now, it's not that there's not stuff to worry about with Apple. I was watching Michael Stieber earlier today. Michael Stieber, who of course follows retail for 9 to 5 Mac, follows Apple retail for 9 to 5 Mac. And he was saying, oh, it looks like they're closing a few stores in the UK. Oh, it looks like they're closing a few more stores in the UK. And now, of course, they're closing all the stores in the UK. I don't know if Nate's here or not, but Nate is a regular viewer, listener, participant in macOS Ken Live. He's from the UK. He belittled the last lockdown that the UK put in place. He actually referred to it as a mockdown because there were so many things you were still allowed to go out and do. They were basically just closing retail shops and not much else. It's more serious this time because it turns out when you just close retail shops, if you're closing the pub early as opposed to closing the pub, then really all you're doing, the UK is going into a stiffer lockdown, is my point. So all the Apple stores are closing. Of course, we have spikes all across the country here as well. There's stuff to worry about for Apple, certainly. I mean, the fact that people can't get into retail stores. Then again, Apple retail beat in 2020, I believe it is, versus 2019, despite the fact that stores were on again, off again, on again, off again, because the website is part of retail and people are, of course, still buying Apple stuff. In fact, Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani pointed out that Apple saw its third straight month of 30% growth for the App Store. So that's not retail, but the lockdown stinks. The lockdown stinks and it's difficult for people. And Apple keeps finding ways to make money through it. be that people buying games or, productivity apps or things like that. So what happened on Wall Street Monday? Who knows? How is it going to affect Apple? Tough to say. Did any of it have anything to do with Apple? Hard to imagine it did, except, of course, if you look at the fact that Apple is falling, you don't look at the possible reasons why, like somebody taking a lot of money out of Apple to spread it around other places. It may just look bad and it might lead to more selling. Everything recovered, though, second half of the day. Not completely, but everything, they were on the way back up when the closing bell rang. So that's a fun way to start the new year. Tell you what we'll do. I'm going to ask you to go listen to another show, not right this minute. I'm going to go ask you to listen to another show, and then we'll talk about some good stuff on the horizon for Apple, or potentially good stuff on the horizon. Depends on what you think about Unky Gene and Young MC. First thing I want to do, though, is let you know about a show that I got to be on this weekend called Let's Talk Apple. Bart Bouchat is a really cool dude, kind of a nerd, Irish. Not that those two things are synonymous, but he's got that accent, which is like so much cooler than mine. He's often on shows that Allison Sheridan, does, and he's got his own shows too. One of them is Let's Talk Apple. It is a monthly show where he gets together, recaps some ongoing stories, and then talks about some of the big stories of the week, or of the month, actually. He was kind enough to ask me to be on for the December edition, which we recorded just as soon as December ended. So if you want to check that out, that would be fantastic. The show is called Let's Talk Apple. You can find it wherever you find podcasts, or you can go to the website, lets-talk.ie. That's for Ireland. That's IE. So there you go. Let's-talk.ie. There were supposed to be more of us. It was just the two of us. So, I don't know. Give it a listen. See what you think. Let Bart know I said, hey, let's talk Apple. And now, let's talk Apple. So there's a story that I'm doing on tomorrow's macOS Can. We've actually been over it here. Last week, Unky Gene Munster, formerly of Piper Jaffray, which was formerly an investment house. Now it's Piper Sandler, I think, and he's not with them anymore. He left a few years ago to go do Loop Ventures. He wrote a thing last week, and the part that I focused on was the part that people listening to macOS Can or watching macOS Can live would care about. The fact that he thinks that Apple is going to beat the rest of the FANGs. That's Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google, which is actually called Alphabet, and so it ought to be just a long fan with, maybe an umlaut or something over it. He thinks Apple's going to beat the rest of the FANGs. And we talked about that part, and he's basically gone back and rewritten the article, so he's just concentrating on the Apple parts of it. First of all, he brags about the part that he was right for the past few years. For 2020, Apple was up 83%, Amazon up 74%, Netflix up 64%, Facebook up 31%, and Google up 29%. And he points out that he was right in 2019 when he said Apple was going to beat the FANGs. He points out he was right in 2020 when he said Apple was going to beat the rest of the FANGs, and now he is calling it again. He thinks even after COVID-19 is a thing of the past, or at least after we figured out how to really deal with it, he thinks once we're actually going back to movie theaters and back to work and back to Disneyland and back to all the places we can't go now, he thinks that people are still going to stay home and work. We estimate the percentage of U.S. knowledge workers working remotely will settle long-term at a level 3 times greater than before the pandemic, he says. You know what that means? That means Macs and iPads. Because once people, have the money to choose, and, once this becomes the thing they do, they're going to choose Apple, is his thinking. It's the same as everything else is the same as he said last week. He thinks that the street is expecting too little from 2022. He thinks as we get closer to 2022, expectations for 2022 will start to rise, which will push Apple shares up. He thinks 5G is going to be a bigger deal across the board, but especially for the iPhone. It's kind of interesting because whereas Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives says a third of the close to a billion iPhones out there are ready for upgrade. Munster still seems to think that we're waiting for a reason to upgrade. And he thinks 5G is going to be that reason this year as it becomes more prevalent. I would assume, too, at the end of the year, 5G phones are going to get cheaper because you'll probably push the iPhone 12 down to where the iPhone 11 is. Now, there is one thing that could change that. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is not the case, but it's something to watch out for. A lot of people expected the Apple Watch Series 4 to become the cheap Apple Watch, right? So you would get the EKG in the lower end watches, and that didn't happen. Instead, Apple kept the Apple Watch Series 3 out there. They made the Apple Watch SE. I can't remember if that one has cellular connectivity or not, but it doesn't have the EKG. Basically, one of the things that separates the high end of Apple Watch from the low end, generally speaking, those things were rolling down to the low end. And last year, they did not. You could see the possibility for Apple not pushing 5G down to the low end of the phone line because they actually want people to spend more money. At the same time, Apple has a ton of services they want to sell, and those services are all going to be better if everybody's walking around with 5G, so maybe they will push that down to the end. Either way, Munster thinks that 5G is going to drive an upgrade cycle. Whether that drives higher price devices come September or October of next year, or just, means more people buying more new phones. We'll have to wait until September or October of next year to find out. Actually, probably have to wait till February of 2022 to find out, but you get the idea. And finally, there are the new businesses that Apple might get into. He doesn't think they're going to get into cars anytime soon, but he knows that people are going to get excited about that kind of thing. There are other new business possibilities that I don't think he actually lists what. Yeah, it's the hardware as a service thing. It's the hardware as a subscription thing that he's very excited about. Although, again, he thinks that might not happen until 2022. But, anticipation. Yay. So there's a good thing that might, help Apple out over the next year. The one that is also interesting, but not, I don't know, it's rumor. It's rumor from somebody who's pretty good with the whole rumor thing, but it's still rumor. TF International analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, Young MC, as I like to call him, says that he thinks we're going to get AirTags and an augmented reality device this year. Not to be cynical, I can't imagine much that's more useless than AirTags right now. Because, where did I leave my... Oh, right, it's right there because I don't go anyplace anymore. That's me. Hey, maybe you're taking off your mask and going to the mall and yelling at people, and suddenly you realized you left your laptop someplace, in which case you would want AirTags. And good for you. Young MC says you're going to have them this year. I am, of course, more interested in the augmented reality device, about which he says almost nothing, except that there's going to be one. And, of course, there are, better things for iPads and Macs and stuff like that coming as well. Because it turns out Apple likes to, sort of evolve its products, make them better as it goes. And so, they're going to do that. I'm personally excited to see what happens next with the Apple Silicon Macs. Not that I'm looking to replace my Mac anytime soon. It's only 2 years old. It is a MacBook Pro. If you want to make me an offer, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. But otherwise, I'm in no hurry to replace this. I am excited, though, to see the Mac continue. And I think he probably mentions this here, but if he doesn't, I will anyway. I'm excited to see evolution in the Mac continue because eventually I'm going to need a new one. And it's fun to watch how cool my Mac is going to be. Not that this Mac isn't cool. It's letting me talk to tens of 20s of people right now. Good job, guy. Hey, if you're in the chat room, please stay in the chat room. I will be by there momentarily. If you're not in the chat room, we would love it if you would join us. This is now, once again, a thing we do every Monday through Friday, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, other times, other places. Sometimes it's a little bit shorter than others, but hey, it's the first show of the new year. Golly, it's been a whole 5 days. Got macOS Ken tomorrow morning, and we will be kicking back into in a few minutes tomorrow morning. And I will talk to you soon. People are saying things over in the chat room. I'm going to go see what people are saying over in the chat room. Oh, thank God. John got here. I was worried. You can ask them, John. I was actually worried. I suggested we send somebody out looking for you. I wasn't really worried, but I did really suggest we send somebody out looking for you. Let's go back and see who's doing what. Huh. Bill says AirTags that are also an Apple TV remote. I don't quite understand that. It's a funny idea, I think. I'm going to go back up to the top and see who's saying what. Oh, Chuck is here. Good. Because Chuck, I was also worried about you and I suggested that we send somebody out to look for John and Chuck. Yeah. Bill says 2021 just sounds like you glued a couple of numbers together. Yeah, it's like you can't decide on an amount, right? How many people are going to be there? 20, 21. Excuse me. Charles raises an interesting question. Are people really emphasizing Apple, or are we simply paying much closer attention to the headlines with Apple in them? Yeah, that's a possibility. It is also a possibility, like I said. I mean, Apple's the biggest, right? So if Apple falls 1% or 1.5% and GM falls 1.5%, who's lost more money? If Apple falls 1.5% and GM falls 3%, who's lost more money? It's kind of a bigger deal. It's an easier thing to get. Well, I was going to say it's an easier thing to get our heads around. Honestly, it's probably an easier thing to think we get our heads around. But there's also the clickbait aspect, which I think is what Charles is driving towards. Although I hope he's not driving right now because he's also typing. Not right this second. No, Donna. Have you hit the like button yet? You're so nice. Web Bixby liked it. Where are we going? I didn't say, did I say there would be no call today? No, I said there would be no in a few minutes today. Sorry, John, if there was some confusion there. I thought about making no call today because a lot of what we did was stuff that we've gone over or stuff that, whatever. I apologize if I misled you in any way. There was no in a few minutes today. There was, I think I did say though on today's macOS Ken that there would be a call today. I apologize either way. Charles, your wife sounds like an intelligent lady. Never say everybody. One person can prove that wrong. Word. Mock down, rock down. Oh, there's something else bad there. Is it really? Thanks, Charles. I'll have to go back and listen to it. Charles is saying that he liked the Let's Talk Apple episode and that the second half is... He's very complimentary of the second half of the show. Thank you. I don't want to say I don't remember, so I'll just mime it. Bill makes an interesting point about the upgrade thing that Gene Munster was talking about. A reason to upgrade is something that makes me get a new phone in 18 to 26 months instead of waiting 36 months. You know, it's funny, even though I don't buy on any kind of contract anymore, even though I buy outright. I buy a new iPhone every 2 years. I think 1 year I skipped. 1 year I held onto my phone for 3. Wow, really loving all the popping noises. That's fantastic. I think of it, though, as something that I do every 2 years. So, I get what you're saying. Haha. Charles says, "Place your bets. What comes first, the AR thing or the car?" I say the AR thing. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. The thing is, what's the AR thing gonna be, right? I mean, it's interesting that Ming Chi Kuo has nothing to offer there. Are we talking about glasses? Are we talking about a helmet? Are we talking about something like HoloLens? John wants to know whether AirTags would help him find stuff in the reef for domestic sediment that his home has become. Okay, so I decided how I was going to spend part of New Year's Day was cleaning off my desk, which I never use because there's always so much crap on my desk. And I mean, it's like full of all kinds of stuff, like bills that need to be shredded and thrown away, and that's been done now, and books that for some reason didn't find their way to the bookshelf. And then there are also like some craft projects that I want to do. And so I actually on Monday, I mean, on whatever New Year's Day was, Friday, there were like some pieces of paper that I had saved to turn into cards to mail to people. And I was like, right, I'm going to do that right now. And so I got out my card making stuff and I put it out there and I just started, pasting things, whatever. And then I can't find my phone to save my life. And so I actually had somebody call me. And the thing is, it was buzzing, but it was under so much crap from my desk that I still couldn't find my phone. So I guess the short answer to your question, John, is maybe. Eventually, I had to get Siri to play a sound and just keep digging through stuff until I found it. Hey, but my desk is clean, so got that going for me. Thus begins another year of piling crap on my desk until I can't even see there's a desk there anymore. Devise and conquer. Is that Brittany? Lord of the Sith? Hey, it is. Chuck identified her as such. Wait, I'm almost. Oh, things jumped. Charles Charles says it amazes him that TV remotes don't include a beeper as a standard feature. Where is it? Beep. Ah, yes, there it is. Let me ask a question. Do you walk away with the remote or does it just get lost in the cushions? Because there's a bit of an open floor thing going on here. And more than once I have found the remote in the kitchen because I got up to go get, something, and then I go back to sit down to restart the thing, and I can't restart the thing because I don't have the remote because I've left it in the kitchen. But of course, there are no buttons on the TV, so you have to you have to hunt around for the remote. You can't just say I'll find it later. Actually, you can though, because the phone has their. I don't have to tell anybody. YouTube live stream, and I don't think I'd do it. Sorry, still catching up. I'm curious what your live stream was, but that's okay. I'll find out later, maybe. Man, Chuck says, let me know next time. Hey, is she programming against me? I'm giving you both a hard time, by the way. Roger says the trick is 2 desks. Yeah, I actually used to have that. I had one of those L-shaped desks, so, like, over here you could do stuff, and over here you could do stuff. Turns out they'll both hold a lot of crap. So oh, stop it. I'm sorry. Brittany is saying she's being disruptive in class. This is the after thing where I sit here and read, and people watch me read, and then I respond to stuff that they said 20 minutes ago. There you go. Yeah. Charles says that the remote could be any place: living room, kitchen, office. Found it upstairs once. That's cool. I don't think I've ever taken mine to the car, but it's honestly surprising. There you go. Yeah, John. Yes, I always walk around with the remote, then leave it wherever I paused for a moment. Yeah, I wish the phone was more reliable as far as the Apple TV remote anyway. It's not bad, but sometimes there's a little bit of a lag, and that's enough to make you never want to use it. But I never lose my phone. Well, except for that time cleaning my desk, but we talked about that a minute ago. Right. On all of those happy notes, I'm gonna go turn this into a show and then, prepare tomorrow's macOS Ken, which stands to be a tiny bit of a short show because, everybody's just getting back into the swing of things. So, yeah, you've heard one of the stories twice now, the Gene Munster thing, and some other stuff too. Wait, you threw out the desk as well, Charles? Had it gone bad? Was it bad? Oh, stop it, John. Thank you very much for being here when you are. It's fantastic. I really appreciate it. Right. Everybody, take care. I'm going to go do a thing. I will talk to you soon. Oh, Happy New Year.